Hi guys, this is Tony here from Metal Roos. You're about to sit down and enjoy an interview I just did um, over there. And so do like and subscribe so you can get all this straight into your streaming and into your consciousness as soon as it arrives. So enjoy the interview, and I will. Over to you, Tony.
So thanks for being able to chat to us.
Yeah,
I know
no worries.
I know you've got a busy time ahead of you with the new album just come out only a few days ago.
And
So
it's been actually we're kind of coming into the kind of chill out zone now, like it's been now that the album's finally out and we've finished the 8 weeks of touring to kick off our year, and this is the kind of last week. Now we're just kind of rolling out the last of the interviews, and then we've got some filming to do, and then it's kind of like whoosh, a little bit of a break,
oh,
before the
good
next
man.
run.
Oh, good man. I mean, I first saw you. Gosh, I think you were 17 or 18 when you first hit the scene. That was you were so young with such a mature sound. Was quite incredible from a small island like New Zealand. I'm so proud of you guys. It's amazing.
Yeah, there's been a lot of growth over the past few years, even from that, and
Mm.
particularly with this album, it's like when you say that, a lot of people, we've been joking that like our frontman Lewis, according to the internet, he's been 16 for the past 8 years. It's like people still attached to that first album and go, oh yeah, they're those teenagers from New Zealand, and we've been teenagers from New Zealand forever. And it's like, well, we're definitely not teenagers anymore. It's been kind of cool now, I think, seeing people like discover the band through this album. Because I think a reason that happens is a lot of people were still discovering the band for the very first time through like Kai Tangata or something.
Yeah.
So when they see it, they go, oh yeah, teenagers. And then people in the comments are going, teenagers. And they go, oh, they must be teenagers, without really like processing it. But now we're seeing people who are like discovering us through Momok or Thousand Friends, like, or Tanifile.
Yeah.
So now they get to work backwards and be like, oh, they started as teenagers. That's pretty cool.
Well, I mean, honestly, that is it's crazy because I mean, I remember as I said, I saw you at some, I think it was a festival, maybe Soundwave. It was somewhere like that, and I was thinking, gosh, these guys are so young, but with such a mature and big sound, so technically gifted for such a young age. And I was like blown away. I think most of us are when we listen to your albums. And this new one, particularly, I feel it was a slightly different direction musically. Am I right?
It is a little bit. It is a little bit. There's a few things at play that cause that effect because when we approached this album, like the goal, we sort of had to, first album obviously was such a blast onto the scene for the band, an explosion of this, like everyone's like, whoa, who the heck are these kids? Whoa, this is
Mm.
crazy. Second album fell during COVID. I won't say like fell completely flat, but didn't kind of go exactly where we had hoped, for many reasons. And so that it was like when we go into this one, we understood the importance of this album doing well. You know, kind
Yeah.
of the if you're gonna be dramatic, it's the make it or break it album. Um, so we were like, what is it that we want to achieve? What is the sound that we want to achieve? People love the first album. Do we try and make something that sounds like the first album? People like some of the stuff on the second album. Do we incorporate that into this sound? Whatever sound we want to achieve? So we were like, we want it to be reminiscent of the first album, like the evoke the same feeling that the first album evoked in people, not necessarily sound the same, but create that same
Mm.
response.
Mm.
So what was it? It was something in the songwriting. Is it the catchiness of the songs? So make catchy songs. Whatever the song sounds like, it's just got to be catchy. Is that the goal? But people like the technical, more sort of mature actual playing that came with the second album. So let's try fuse those two things together. Also, the first album where I, since joining the band, um, have been a full part of the writing process from the beginning. So that also introduces my influences and my writing style as a guitar player, which is a
Mm.
guitar player very different to how Lewis plays guitar. And then, of course, the working with Josh Wilbur also brought another completely
Yes, I was
fresh
going to
element
say
to the
that's a
table,
great name to be with,
Oh,
Josh.
incredible, and as good as we could have asked for, really, at the end of the day. And he further elevated our sound and our songs and fine-tuned. And because I think that's a big thing with this one is, the albums prior were very raw. The sound of those albums was quite a raw sound.
which is
This is
amazing.
a right, it has its place, and this is a different kind of much more refined and polished sound that comes with someone of the expertise and knowledge of Josh. Um, so I think, all of those things together push this album in a familiar but different evolution for the band, maybe getting closer to cementing a sound, if that's the word to use, even if we're not 100% sure that we've actually found it yet. It's a step closer to finding the quintessential alien weaponry sound. And there's definitely things in this album where we're like, oh, that's getting there. That's it right there. So yeah, it's been a cool process.
I think, and that's a wonderful thing to hear because I thought that when I listened to it, I thought it felt more polished. I mean, I love all your stuff. Don't no, right from the beginning to now. I think it's just it feels like there's growth,
Hmm.
which is wonderful. I mean, you work with Randy Blythe. I mean, you've had some really interesting things going on in your musical career. But what's really important, I think, is that when you listen to your music, your heritage and your culture is there. And it's not going to be Hollywoodized. Do you know what I mean? I don't think you're ever going to polish that out of your sound. And I think that's really the core of it. Because I put this album on and I could still feel that Maori, that New Zealand, that warrior kind of feel that you get from the other albums. It didn't feel it
Hmm.
was cleaned out or taken away. You know?
Hmm. Well, and during this process, that is something that well, not became prevalent because we already knew, but like cemented itself as the glue that holds together the alien weaponry sound is the cultural stuff. Like,
Mm.
yes, we do sing in English and we've always sung in English. But if we're being honest with ourselves, even though people do like our English songs, if we had only written in English, I don't think we'd be anywhere in the same position as we are today. You know what I mean? And like we are aware of that reality, and but we will continue to sing in English because well, the main reason is that Lewis, our singer, exclusively writes in English. He doesn't write the Maori stuff. So
Mm.
if we only put Maori songs, then all the
Yeah,
lyrics that he spent time writing aren't going to end up on the album.
fair
Um,
enough.
and he feels like, yes, we could translate them, but he feels that they're best told through the medium of English. That's why he wanted to express himself through English. Um, but we are aware that it is the Maori stuff that brings people into alien weaponry. And I think one of the things that we had a lot of fun with on this album is like on a track by track basis, each individual song, you could almost put into a different kind of subgenre or different. You could see that there's different inspirations within the realm of metal being infused. Obviously, A Thousand Friends a very homage to 2000s metalcore, the
Mm.
Trivium, Killswitch Engage thing, where Mo Moko's a much more traditional groove metal affair. Some people have been calling Taniwha like a death metal song. And then we've got
Actually, my
like
favorite on the
Tamanui.
album, that one.
Taniwha?
Yeah,
Yeah.
love it.
Then we've got like Hanging by a Thread and Tamanui Te Rā, which are a little bit more progressive in nature with the polyrhythms and things like that. So, on the track by track, it's cool because it keeps it quite interesting and varied. But then you go, well, how can you pull that off and not be like, what the hell am I listening to? And it's because when we start singing in Maori, people go, oh, it's alien weaponry. So like that is the core value of what our sound is. And so it's cool because it gives us a lot of creative expression on what happens behind it, in the
Mm.
music. Because the minute we start singing in Maori, people are like, oh, alien weaponry. All right, I
Yeah,
see where we're at now, which is cool. It keeps it fresh for us. I think it keeps it fresh for an audience, and gives us a lot of potential ways to move that in the future as long as we keep that core element that is our cultural infused element. It'll
yeah.
keep us identifiable.
I think that's amazing too, right? Because I listen to your albums, I never really think about whether it's Maori or English. Can I say that? When I get into an
Mm,
album like this, I put it on I've listened to it a handful of times now, and not once did I go, "Oh, here's a Maori track. Here's an English track." I'm just drawn into the textures that you make,
Hmm.
whether it be English or Maori. And of course, I'm not going to understand what the Maori is, although I do read the lyric. Um, but it's like it doesn't matter almost for me as a listener. And I'm sure that's the
Hmm.
case for a lot of your listeners. It's just about the power and the energy that you bring with the passion for your culture comes through on in the albums.
Well, that's right. And I think that's something we tried to make sure of on this album too, because we do sing in English and it's not something we plan on changing anytime soon, is how then can we try and at least evoke that same feeling that people get by listening to the Maori through the English? So that when people are listening, that exact thing happens. You don't think all of a sudden, oh, it's the songs in English. Oh, it's a shame. You're just
Yeah, yeah.
listening through and it just
Just yeah.
continues to be a flow through of the last one. You're just listening to alien weaponry. And so
Mm.
um it's not completely achievable because there's definitely some things we can pull off with the Maori that we cannot do in English. But I think it helps to further allow the alien weaponry sound, because we do have a certain element of our fan base who are like they only interested in the Maori stuff. So much so that I think they like we'll get these weird comments like, "Oh, I think A Thousand Friends is a great song. I just wish it was in Maori." I'm like, "But you just said it was a great song. So who
Oh,
cares?"
it
You know
doesn't
what I mean?
matter. Yeah,
It
yeah.
doesn't matter. You already like the song. It's not they said, "Oh, I don't like that song because it's in English." They go, "It's a great song. I just wish it was in Maori." I'm like, "Well, it's a great song. Who cares what language it's in?"
Yeah.
So that kind of thing is bound to happen. So we're trying to be like, how can we at least make it so that people feel almost like they're listening to the alien weaponry sound, regardless of the language.
Yeah, I mean the album flows beautifully. I mean I've put it on. I always listen to an album in several ways. First, when I'm walking around doing stuff, then on my own in the dark, so I've got no
Distractions.
distractions, and then I will live with it for the next week or so. And it does not jilt. It flows beautifully. Like there's a real wonderful like wave through the album, and you don't get to the end and go, "Oh God, that was a crappy ending song." The opening one's a banger, and the end one's a banger, and it's. And I love the way that you can do that. Start with a
Hmm.
powerful song, end with a powerful song. Love it.
Yeah, the order for us is an important part too. As even this album specifically was even further catered so that if you listen on LP, for those listeners out there,
Yeah,
like even the sides have a specific flow. We designed the starting songs on each side to be the two bilingual tracks on the album, and then they start up here and then they flow down and take you to these other places, and then on the final side you have the final track, which is this another crescendo back up to this
yeah,
big
yeah.
ending. So
I
the
think so.
the flow is an integral part for us in the creation of these albums.
Yeah, and you do it so well. I mean, again, I don't say young men. You are young men, and to make such mature music, bless you, it's completely blows my mind. As I said, when
Mm,
I first saw you as young boys, like going, wow, you know. Then I saw you here in Canberra, and it was like, oh my God, these guys just they know what they're doing, and it's just lovely. I've got friends of mine live in New Zealand and they moved there from England like me, and they love your stuff because it's really an NZ sound, you
right,
know.
right. And which is cool because the other thing that we find, like with it's hard to break out in New Zealand as a musical
Oh,
act.
I can imagine.
And a big part of that a lot of the time is because New Zealand does have its own like genre of music. Even like our pop or whatever you want to call it, it's like it's a very uniquely New Zealand sound that isn't necessarily hugely popular elsewhere. And
Mm.
obviously we're not in that genre, but for us, we feel very grateful because heavy metal as a genre is global. That's a
Yes.
global genre. And so we were able to capitalize, if you want to use that word, on a global genre infused though with stuff unique to here, where it's like a lot of the bands that do stuff unique to here, it's too unique in genre as well that like I mean, our biggest band in the country, for example, can sell out rugby stadiums,
Mm.
50,000 people stadiums like Guns N' Roses can here, but then they can't go overseas. You
Yeah,
know, it's
yeah,
like
they don't
too
translate. Yeah.
doesn't translate necessarily. So we feel very fortunate that our genre happens to be a global genre and we're able to introduce the New Zealand or the Maori influence through that already well established genre of music. It's pretty sweet.
It's wonderful because it's unique. There wouldn't be many. In fact, I can't name another one. So so it's pretty fantastic that you're not just stuck there though. Like you said, you know, you have other boundaries. You are outside of your culture as well. You are universal in music, and that's important too. And I think that this new album is just going to take you into the stratosphere, my young man, because it's so well made. It's the best of you've made, I think, personally.
Yeah, that's what
Yeah.
we would hope. Thank you, by the
Yeah,
way.
yeah.
I think we like to think so too. Of course, I'm sure every band thinks every latest album is the best album, or they at least have to say they think it is. But I think we, I think we do genuinely think so as well because of the natural growth. Like I know there's stuff even on the first album that for the boys, they wrote it when they were teenagers. So like I
Mm,
know there's stuff on there that they're like, oh, a little cringe at or whatever because we were teenagers. That's a little even if I disagree, but I don't have the same attachment to those songs, of course,
mm.
not having written them. So I think, there is this feeling that we genuinely feel too. It's the best, most refined body of work that we have released as a band, and it makes us excited for what we can do next now that we've kind of seen it happen, and seen
Mm.
it happen in the full process because the second album just fell in such a peculiar place.
Oh,
It's almost like it didn't count or exist.
yes, yes.
There's this weird thing because of that time period that it's like this very weird void in the in the history of alien weaponry. So this one's kind of re-sparked or rekindled that flame for us, and it's exciting.
Well, I'm excited to see where you go from here. I mean, of course, it's only just come out, so we can't, we're going to enjoy the flame of this album for a little while. But I think that, with great producers and great supporters of the band, like I said, like Randy Blythe, and you're going to go. I can't see where the ceiling could end. Like it's just there is no ceiling for you guys because technically you're so amazing and the passion is there. So, I think that the can only go up from here.
Yeah, we would like to hope so.
I bloody well hope so.
Yeah, yeah. We got a lot of plans for when we can make those next steps too. So we got to get there.
When are you going to tour Australia next?
That's a big question. I hear mumblings coming from our people behind the scenes, but nothing confirmed yet that we can confirm. So it's been a long time. I mean, I've never toured Australia with the band, like properly toured. I've only
Mm.
played the Froth and Fury Festival a few years back. So I'm particularly excited to get over there, and play for Aussie. So let's hopefully we can make it happen. I'm
Yeah, I
sure
mean,
they will. There
yeah,
would
I'm
be
sure.
silly. It'd be silly if we missed an opportunity to get over there during this album cycle, but we don't get to choose our shows, unfortunately. So let's just hope that they can make it happen for us.
Yeah, it's only a couple of hours across the water. It's not far away. You can.
I know, I
Yeah.
know. It's always, but our New Zealand fans say the same. I was like, what do you mean? How can you not play New Zealand? We're like, well, it was 5 years since the last time we played, and we definitely couldn't play any other time in between then. I don't
No,
know who
no.
makes
Yeah.
these rules or how it all works, but
Well,
sometimes as the musician, I'm like, why can't we just play?
yeah. But you know what? It's a roller coaster, right?
It is.
And enjoy the ride while you're on it. That's what I say. And
Exactly.
we're loving every dip and mind-blowing moment from it. So thanks again. Thanks for coming on, chatting to us, and enjoy your rest
Yeah,
now.
thank you. Thank you very much.
All
Thank you for
right.
the great chat.
No, that's all right. And enjoy the fruits of your labor because it's a brilliant album, and I'm hoping that I said you get lots and lots of positive feedback from it.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of your day, man.
I will do, man. See you soon, man.